Hi. Let's start off by saying that this is not how I imagined doing one of my last high school projects at all. I don't know if it's a normal thing to do, but ever since I was in first or second semester, I would imagine myself receiving my German certification exam or presenting an exemplary portfolio presentation, or even more so, attending to graduation. But due to reasons that we all know and that I'm not going to take the time to explain, all of these dreams have changed, if not dissipated altogether. Hello, I'm Xavier Mejorada, a sixth semester student in the Tecnológico de Monterrey, Campus Guadalajara. I like to think of myself as a discoverer. Despite being part of the Generation Z and following a few aspects or traits of the giving archetype, I do like to think that I have enough personality to stand out. I'm a quick learner in most aspects, but I don't give up easily when I'm not good at stuff. I have to admit I work with reverse psychology, and the best way for me to get me to do something is by telling me that I cannot do it. I love everything involved with creativity, and counterintuitively enough, also everything related with heart number and data. Perhaps my greatest weakness is my personal emotional management. Either way, that should be enough about me. Before delving in deeper to my competencies I've acquired during Prepatec, I'd just like to mention really quickly that I really do firmly believe that these competencies will help me in the future and also to become a better adult. During this phase of my life, I've learned a lot of stuff, but I genuinely believe that they will also assist me into becoming an adult little by little. The first characteristic that I have acquired that I like to talk about is critical thinking. Now, I'm not going to repeat everything else that I've heard during Prepatec because I feel like a definition should be made by oneself to really acquire a trait. That being said, critical thinking is for me, in a nutshell, taking everything with a grain of salt. It's not believing everything you hear, read, or see right away. It's delving and organized mental database of everything we know for a fact and comparing all the new information we receive to it. That means that I do believe people out there in the real world that are trying or will try sometime to take advantage of us or the people close to us, whether it be in a political, social, economic, or even cultural context. That doesn't mean that having critical thinking should make us become cynical, but rather just wary, wise, and shrewd. Critical thinking is being able to take assertive decisions based on real life situations without having to consult others all the time, although consulting others might also prove useful in some occasions. At the beginning of high school, I've got to admit that I was really dependent on others. For the things I needed, I would go to my parents, and for my opinions, I would usually go to my best friend or my sister. It's not something I'm proud of, especially me being me how I am right now, but it is the truth. Now I fend off for myself. I'm very opinionated, opinions which I've made for myself, and I like to think that I'm able to take responsibility of their consequences most of the time. I must also say that what made me this way was going to Florence, Italy for my fifth semester. I pretty much had to live by myself. I had to buy my groceries, I had to go to sleep at any time I wanted, and I also had to do every responsibility that I had to do without having anyone to tell me to do it. It also really helped me change my perspective, or at least alter it in small ways, and really immerse myself into the Italian culture and mindset, which varies greatly from the one that we have here in Mexico. For instance, I recall coming back here to Guadalajara after 6 months there and suddenly noticing that everyone wasn't following the rules here. And I asked my parents, why is it that everyone stopped following the rules while I was away? And clearly that wasn't the case. I had simply gotten used to seeing people in Italy following most of the transit rules back in Italy and being shocked upon returning. There are more examples of such things, but I merely mention it to give an example to my point. Now I feel like I can be someone that could represent what I personally think are the best aspects of both cultures, and that's a prime example of both critical thinking and multiculturality. Moving on to the next competence, I'd like to mention that while I've always had somewhat of a penchant for public speaking and presenting, I haven't always been as communicative as I am right now. Yes, you guessed it. Now I'm going to talk about my journey in becoming someone with effective communication skills. Honestly, I'm really glad I developed this trait. I've come to understand that communication is key in pretty much anything we do. If you're into politics and aren't good at getting your point across, then you're pretty much doomed. Furthermore, I've learned that pretty much every kind of interpersonal relationship is heavily based on communication. It makes sense to me now that I didn't really have that many friends back in elementary school. I remember wanting people to understand me, but never speaking up for what I wanted or how I felt. So, what is effective communication anyway? For me, it's managing to express yourself in the best channel, tone, and fashion possible regarding their circumstances, while trying to appeal to your receptor and ensure that they receive it, understand it, and act upon it the way you expect them to at the very least. I think it was in third semester that I achieved this. We had to deliver a persuasive speech, and it was also around that time that I started considering studying advertising, so I really put a lot of effort on trying to come off as persuasive, yet not manipulative. I managed to pull it off, and I was chosen as the best of my classroom, effectively moving onto a campus wide competition. Furthermore, it was with my tirelessly inquisitive friends that I really managed to open up to other people and understand that it isn't necessarily a bad thing. You've just got to be really careful who you open up with. So that is about it. I know I'm not the best, and I know that by developing these competencies, I'm not suddenly invincible or anything, but they are undoubtedly helpful tools that will come in handy in the future. How exactly? I'm not really sure yet, but by being able to discern and judge carefully with critical thinking, or by managing to express myself better with effective communication, a lot of doors are going to open themselves for me. Now I can talk to others and be persuasive to get what I want, and I'm also less easily deceived. I can't imagine what other perks these traits will bring me in the future, but I'm sure that the whole point of life is trying to discover just that. Thank you.
Bueno, yo creo que Alec ha recibido de, de la institución en la que curso la preparatoria seguridad en sí mismo. Ha encontrado una metodología para llevar a cabo muchas de las actividades que tienen que ver con su vida. Es decir, se ha vuelto más metódico, se ha vuelto en muchos sentidos todavía más responsable de lo que ya era, y creo también que comencé a ver un espíritu de búsqueda personal de sus gustos, sus intereses, sus habilidades, en las que creo que la escuela ha influenciado mucho para que sucedan. Alec también se ha vuelto autocrítico y por demás se ha interesado en los aspectos sociales y humanos de nuestra sociedad, de nuestra cultura y de otras culturas allende las fronteras de nuestro país. Me encanta cómo ahora domina los idiomas y por los viajes que ha hecho ha madurado en muchos sentidos que siento que le preparan bien para la vida.
Sí, efectivamente, en cuanto a sus viajes, pudimos notar la gran diferencia de antes de que se fuera a después cuando lo volvimos a ver. Fue un cambio muy notorio porque se notó la madurez en sí que había tenido, el valorar obviamente lo que había dejado atrás, su familia, hasta su cuarto, su closet, sus cosas personales, y cómo las valoraba, y estaba más atento, pero también más consciente de lo que había dejado aquí en casa y cosas a las que él estaba acostumbrado, que definitivamente estaba extrañando en sus viajes. Aparte de más maduro, también he podido percibir que se ha vuelto tiene un mayor juicio crítico para las cosas, y es muy brillante, vaya, agarra las cosas muy rápidamente, no se anda con rodeos, cualquier cosa luego entiende bastante bien y sabe por dónde va el asunto. Entonces esa destreza que tiene de mente y esa agilidad le va a ayudar bastante en la vida.